Look at this machine. It is a John Deere harvester worth $500,000. But right now, it is the world's most expensive paperweight. Not because the engine blew up, but because a single $50 sensor failed. The farmer standing next to it knows exactly how to fix it, but he is not allowed to. If he touches that sensor with a wrench, he is technically a criminal. He has to download cracked firmware from a hacker in Ukraine just to harvest his corn. The manufacturers tell you these digital locks are for your safety. That is a lie. They are locking the hardware to protect their 80% profit margins on service fees. If you are watching this on an iPhone with a cracked screen and you are terrified to fix it because you might lose Face ID, then you are already a victim. Welcome to the repair mafia, where changing a battery has become harder than brain surgery. Every single year, the human race generates 50 million tons of electronic waste. Only 20% of it ever gets recycled. The rest just sits there, leaking toxic chemicals into the ground. But do not blame yourself for being wasteful. This mountain of trash exists because of a very specific equation. When the guy at the service counter tells you the repair costs $400, but a brand new device is just $500, the math makes the decision for you. They priced the repair at 90% of the replacement cost on purpose. It is not an accident, it is a blueprint. But recently, the strategy shifted from simple economics to something much sinister. It is called serialization. In the old days, you could take a screen from one broken iPhone and swap it into another broken iPhone to make one working device. It was simple. It was logical. But today, if you try that, the phone will know. It will disable features like True Tone, or it will panic and shut down completely. This happens because the microchip inside the screen has a serial number that must match the motherboard. If the numbers do not match, the phone treats the genuine Apple part like a foreign invader. They have fundamentally changed the physics of ownership. They turned hardware into software. If you want to understand how terrifying this is, just look at your printer. We've all been there. You know there's still 20% of the ink left in the cartridge. You can hear the liquid sloshing around inside, but the printer simply refuses to work. It demands you buy a new cartridge. That's the moment you realize that printer is not a tool you own. It is a corporate spy sent by HP to drain your wallet. And now that spy is in your pocket, watching your battery degrade 1% at a time. To understand why this is happening, we have to talk about the ice cream machine at McDonald's. We've all been there. You want a McFlurry, and the employee tells you the machine is down. It happens so often it has become a global meme. But the machine isn't broken because it's poorly made, it's broken because of the contract. The company that makes the machine, Taylor, has an exclusive agreement for maintenance. They make 25% of their total profit just from fixing these machines. If they built a machine that never broke, they would bankrupt themselves.
The incentive structure is perverse. They are financially rewarded for failure. Now, take that logic and apply it to the device in your pocket. Apple and Samsung looked at the ice cream machine model, and they got jealous. That is why they stopped using screws and started using industrial-strength glue. It is why they made the entire back of the phone out of glass, a material guaranteed to shatter if you drop it on anything harder than a pillow. They claim it is for aesthetics or water resistance. That is nonsense. They use glue because glue makes it terrifying for you to open the device. They have built what they call a walled garden. But inside this garden, you are not the gardener, you are the compost. They control the supply of genuine parts, so you cannot buy them. They hide the circuit schematics, so independent repair shops have to work blind. And most importantly, they lock the diagnostic software behind a corporate firewall. Imagine if your mechanic had to ask Ford for permission every time he wanted to check your engine light. That is the reality of modern tech. They have created artificial scarcity to drive the price of repair up until buying a new phone feels like the only logical choice. It is not a bug in the system, it is the entire point of the system. So, who is the bad guy here? Is it Tim Cook sitting in a dark room wringing his hands? Is it the faceless shareholders? It is actually something much more terrifying. The true villain is the infinite growth model. Think about it. The smartphone market is dead. It is finished. Everyone who wants a smartphone already has one. Your grandmother has an iPhone. Your 5-year-old nephew has a Galaxy. When the market is completely saturated, how do you make sure your stock price goes up next quarter? You cannot find new customers, so you have to turn your existing customers into repeat offenders. This is where the math gets dark. If they build a phone that lasts 10 years, their company goes bankrupt. But if they build a phone that starts acting weird after 24 months, they become a $3 trillion empire. Planned obsolescence is not a conspiracy theory. It is a fiduciary duty. They are legally required to shorten the lifespan of the product to maximize value for shareholders. And here comes the twist that should make you furious. Remember when they removed the charging brick from the box? They stood on stage with sad music playing and told us it was to save the planet. They called it courage. That is absolute malarkey. It is the highest level of greenwashing I have ever seen. While they're saving a few grams of plastic on a charger, their anti-repair policies are forcing millions of perfectly good phones into landfills every year. They are pretending to be environmentalists while simultaneously designing the most wasteful product cycle in human history. Now, I can hear the tech defenders in the comments already. But wait, sealing the battery inside makes the phone thinner. It makes it waterproof. You cannot have a removable battery and water resistance at the same time. Stop. Just stop. Let me introduce you to the Samsung Galaxy S5. It was released in 2014. That was over a decade ago. It had an IP67 water resistance rating. You could drop it in the toilet, fish it out, and it would be fine. And guess what? You could pop the back cover off and swap the battery in 10 seconds. The technology to do both has existed for 10 years. They did not seal your phone shut because of physics. They did not do it to protect the device from water. They did it to protect their revenue stream from you. They solved a problem that didn't exist to create a profit center that should not exist.
We are watching the death of ownership in real time. If you drove a Tesla to work today, I have some bad news for you. You did not buy a car. You bought an iPad on wheels. And just like an iPad, the manufacturer holds the master key. There are documented cases where Tesla has remotely disabled features like fast charging or removed software upgrades simply because the car was sold to a new owner without their blessing. They can reach out across the internet and downgrade your physical property while it is sitting in your driveway. We are sliding back into a form of digital feudalism. In this system, big tech companies are the feudal lords, and we are just the peasants working their land. We pay them thousands of dollars for the privilege of holding their glass rectangles, but we never actually own them. We are just paying a lifetime subscription for the right to use them until the lords decide it is time for us to upgrade. So, how do we fight back? How do we stop being digital serfs? It starts with a refusal to play their game. We need to stop rewarding them for abusing us. Here is your survival protocol for the next 7 days. I want you to go to iFixit.com. Search for the specific model of phone or laptop you are using right now. Look at the repairability score. If that number is less than 5 out of 10, make a pact with yourself right now. Do not buy from that brand again. Period. If you keep buying unrepairable trash, they will keep making unrepairable trash. Instead, look at companies like Framework or Fairphone. These are the rebels. They are building laptops and phones that you can take apart and upgrade like Lego blocks. Supporting them is not just a consumer choice, it is a political vote. It is a middle finger to the establishment. And finally, learn to fix things, even if it's just replacing a battery or swapping out a hard drive. In a world designed to make you helpless, picking up a screwdriver is the ultimate act of rebellion. If we do not draw the line here, if we do not fight for the right to repair right now, the future is going to be a very dark and very expensive place. We are heading toward a world where you will need a monthly subscription just to open your own refrigerator. A world where your toaster will refuse to toast bread because you missed a mandatory firmware update. It sounds like a dystopian joke, but remember, BMW already tried to charge people $18 a month just to use the heated seats that were already installed in their cars. The infrastructure for total control is already built. They're just waiting for us to get used to it. This is why repair matters. It is not just about saving money. It's not just about being cheap. Repair is freedom. When you take a device apart, when you see the green boards and the battery and the wires, you strip away the marketing magic. You stop seeing a mysterious black box that you're afraid to touch, and you start seeing a machine that you can master. Repair is the ultimate assertion of sovereignty over the physical world. It is the only way to prove that you are not just a passive consumer designed to swipe a credit card until you die. It is the difference between owning your life and merely renting it. They want you helpless. They want you afraid of the hardware you paid for. Do not give them that satisfaction. That cheap screwdriver sitting in your junk drawer has more power than you think. Pick it up. And while you're at it, subscribe to the channel, because we are going to keep taking apart the lies of big tech, one screw at a time.